Did you know that utility escalation rates may be the most important factor that you're not analyzing in your solar quotes? Well, stay tuned to this video because we're going to discuss what escalation is, how it impacts your solar quotes, how it even happens, and what the level should be that you're looking for. Now, utility escalation is just a fancy word for rate increases. The utilities are always going to be increasing their rates for electricity over time as they incur more costs. And this is also going to be included in every solar quote you get because your solar company needs to represent how much the value of energy is going to change over time. Now, it's commonplace for solar quotes to include anywhere from about 3 to 7% escalation over the years. A higher escalation percentage in your quote means that the solar panels are going to save you more money over time because the utility rate that it offsets is going to get higher and higher and higher. On the opposite side, a lower escalation rate is going to mean your utility cost does not increase to the same value, and the solar panels don't save you as much money over time. So why do utility companies raise their rates over time? Well, there's 3 main reasons why this happens. Number 1 is going to be overhead costs. Overhead costs are all the costs that go into actually running the business. These utility electric companies are businesses after all, and they have salaries, tools, vehicles, facilities, all of that to pay for. And all of that gets pushed into the product they sell, their electricity. Number 2 is the infrastructure. Infrastructure is how we all get our electricity, whether it's upgrading meters, changing out and upgrading the lines, burying lines in your area. Infrastructure upgrades always are going to account for increases to your electric rate. And number 3 is new generation capacity. And this one can kind of go both ways because as new generation capacity is put in, and that means that new ways to produce energy for us to consume, we, the consumers, end up paying for a lot of that through our bills and through rate increases. But this can kind of sometimes work in our favor because if utilities are putting in low-cost energy like renewables, wind and solar, there's less of a cost that they incur. So while we may pay for the new generating capacity, it can sometimes decrease rates over time. Now, the amount that utility increase happens every year is not a flat line like most solar quotes are going to provide to you. It can wildly vary up and down from highly positive to highly negative over time. Just depends on what the utility is doing in that particular year. And even some years, it may remain flat. A lot of times, what we see when you look back at data is that we've seen a lot of big price increases in 2021 and 2022 coming out of the pandemic. A lot of utilities incurred extra costs during that time, but to help out their consumers, they pushed off those costs. One perfect example of this is Salt River Project, SRP, in Arizona. They incurred a bunch of new costs during the COVID pandemic and held off those costs. And they just announced that starting back on November 1st, they were rolling out a new wave of price increases that averaged out to about 3.2% per household. You can read more about that by looking at the video description. There's a government agency called the Energy Information Administration, or EIA, and they collect data and all sorts of kind of data over the entire energy industry that's available for public use if you know how to navigate their website. I went through and I ran all the numbers so you don't have to. Let's give you a couple of highlights of what we're looking at. For the last 10 years, we took a look at residential utility rates in the different states and got their averages. You can see the data sources where this came from by looking at the video description or scanning the QR code that's going to be on your screen right now. Here's a couple of the highlights. And the U.S. average electric rate in 2014 was about 13.09 cents per kilowatt hour. As of August of 2024, the average rate in the U.S. is about 17.3 cents per kilowatt hour. Over that 10-year span, it represents about a 31% increase in the electric rate over the entire country. The average yearly change for the country also is an average of 2.89%. So if you're looking at your utility rates, you should probably analyze your solar proposals with a utility rate that is specific to your state. And in the video description, we're going to have the state by state that you can look at and read. So the data set that I looked at was for the last 10 years, and that would be starting in 2014 and ending as of August 2024, because that's the most recent data that I could get. The highest utility rate in the country belongs to Hawaii at 42.1 cents per kilowatt hour on average. Now, while Hawaii may have the highest average utility rate, the actual largest percent change over time belongs to, unsurprisingly, California. From 2014 to August of 2024, California increased their utility rates by a staggering 91%, and they also sported the highest yearly average percent change at 6.79%. Now, the lowest average utility rate in the country actually belongs to Utah, coming in at 11.78 cents per kilowatt hour. Utah also has the lowest average percent change per year at 1.08%. So how does this information help you in your analysis? Well, if you're a homeowner, you can look at this as a good way to determine what your escalation is. Make sure you ask your sales rep or your solar company what escalation is factored in the proposal if it's not already shown. If that is higher or lower than the average in your state over the last 10 years, you know that the reflections that they're going to have for you for your savings dollars may not be super accurate. And if you are a solar provider, using more accurate data to represent your escalation over time that goes in with your state can really show your commitment to accuracy in data and make you stand apart from the competition. As I said, you can take a look at the video description here for a list of all of the states, each one individually, and what their utility escalation average should be. And if you liked the video, you found it helpful, make sure you leave a like and comment down below what escalation do you typically find in the solar proposals you see.